First, let me introduce them all. I'm joined by Mr. Kevin Cortez, the Muroc Joint Unified School District Superintendent, Mr. Trevor Walker, the Muroc Chief Business Officer, Mr. Brent Tan, Assistant Superintendent of Student Services and Special Education, Mr. David Elms, Dr. David Elms, Desert Junior Senior High School Principal, Mr. Jason Sierks, Branch Elementary School Principal, and also off camera I have my Superintendent, Chief Dan Thompson, Mr. Anthony Coward, the 412th FSS Flight Chief for Child and Youth Services, and Ms. Candace Lang, our 412th FSS School Liaison Specialist. Before we get started with the panel, I have a special guest today. Joining us is our own Vice Wing Commander for the 412th Test Wing, Colonel Laz Gordon. Colonel Gordon?
Thanks, Colonel Harris. Can everyone hear me okay? It's good? Excellent. So I wanted to say on behalf of Brigadier General Higer that welcome to all of our guests here. Thank you for being out here to be able to answer these questions for the families. And in this role, Team Edwards, I'm talking to you not as the Vice Commander, but I'm talking to you as a father, as a dad. And from that perspective, I'm just going to channel all of the emotions and the thoughts that I think are out there and the things that I've observed as a father. At this point, I'm willing to bet that you are confused, that you feel as though you haven't been told a lot of information, that you feel as though you had to make some pretty significant decisions about what you want to do with your families and your kids in the absence of that information, and you're angry, and you're hurt, and you feel as though there's just been a total lack of transparency to be able to do what you need to go do. And to all of those points, what I would say is you are right. You're right. I feel that way sometimes as a father as well. But let me share a little bit of a story to try to cage what we're trying to do here today and why this is important. This is my third tour back here at Edwards Air Force Base. When they asked me if I wanted to come back and be the Vice Wing, my immediate thought wasn't necessarily of the job, it was of the community that was here in our second tour. And because of that reason, I felt completely confident to come back here. Let me even unpack that just a tad bit more and share a short story. We left out of here in 2017, and we went to Boston, Massachusetts, and lived in Cambridge for the last 3 years. And if you wanted to pick a school system that is considered the varsity, the high-end, the best of the best of the best of the best, that would be the Massachusetts school system, where public schools are sort of like what you get in private schools. When we went to the school on the first day, it looked like an art museum with gleaming glass windows and steel structures. One of my son's teachers there made millions of dollars in the corporate sector working for a Fortune 50 company and decided to give back teaching computer science. It was that level of pedigree. When COVID-19 hit, I saw a school system like that completely and utterly implode on itself. So it didn't matter where you were, how well resourced you were, what type of folks you had on board as your faculty and staff. This is something that has disrupted everyone. And so when we looked at that and said, do we want to go back to Edwards, the answer was yes, because I know just how well they prepared my son here in the California School District to be able to perform in a place like the Massachusetts School District, and it was outstanding. That's just our personal story, and I credit that to a lot of the folks that are in this room of reaching their arms around my kid and helping him out and making sure that he was adequately prepared. So when I speak to you as a dad, I just wanted to leave you with a couple of points. If you're here and you're upset, I understand, and I fully expect decent conversation, spirited, to be able to get some questions answered because you deserve them. If you're here worrying about how is the California School District going to prepare my kid to go off to do whatever they need to go do, I'm here to tell you I had those fears as well, and they were completely removed when I got a chance to go to a high-end school district and see just how well my son did, and we're so proud of the people that were here that did that. If you've heard horror stories, like you're new to Edwards Air Force Base, and you've heard horror stories of the California School District, I'm with you. I understand that. That's a valid fear, and I'm here to tell you that, again, just from experience personally, that didn't happen to us. And so what we're seeing here with Colonel Harris, with all of our military, Chief Thompson, here with our school district, is that we believe that this is the right spot to be, and I personally believe that so much that we brought our son back here to be a part of this. So we're in it with you, all the way through. And so again, I just wanted to extend my welcome from General Higer and to say thank you and my respect and the fact that I'm home with people that I respect greatly because of what they did for my son.
Thank you, Colonel Gordon. All right, Kevin, you got some opening remarks for the crowd?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you for being here today and attending with us. And for those who can't, I believe that we're recording this, so you'll be able to look back on it, and thanks for tuning in to watch. I'm going to speak to you as a father as well. I'm your superintendent. I have had every job that there is in the school district, and there's a lot of people that are new here. So a little bit about my background so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. I'm the child of a military family. My father was a test pilot, and I went to 3 different high schools, lived all over the place, graduated from a Dodge system, completely understand how that looks, and also understand what it means to move around and not know exactly what it's going to be like when you get to a new location. As your superintendent, knowing that this is going to be public and knowing that Chief Thompson, more than anybody else, knows that I'll get very blunt at times, I have to be careful what I say here. So as your superintendent, we have been patiently waiting for direction from those who actually have the authority to tell us what we're going to do. As a father, I'm livid because just like you, I have been waiting in limbo trying to figure out exactly what is school going to look like and what provisions do I need to put in place to, one, decide if this is the right program for my children, and 2, what I'm going to do with them, and are we ready? Now, I have the inside knowledge of knowing how ready we are, and I'll speak to that. But I have found that no matter what I do, I'm never going to make everybody happy when it comes to any decision. Right now, I have a large group of people who are applauding me, saying, thank you for starting off in a distance learning platform and keeping us safe. We're unsure about COVID-19 and the ramifications and also the implications for students and staff, what that means for our family. Conversely, I have a large group of people who are saying, I can't believe that you're doing this to us. We should be in school, whether that is that this is being overhyped or you should just have a better plan for this. I'm going to set all that aside. I'm not here to discuss the personal political philosophies of this. What we do know is we have to give you answers. And so we haven't communicated as much as I would like to, and I'm going to explain why with a short story. In 2008, I came in and I was the principal at Branch Elementary School. And when I started off, I learned that class lists were posted on the Friday before school started at 4 o'clock with the engines running, and whoever posted it squealed out of the parking lot with a group of parents waiting to see who their child's teacher was. And I said, that's ridiculous. There's no reason that people should be waiting until Friday before school to hear who their teacher is. Well, I asked the question, when do we know? When do we know for certain what child has which teacher? And I was told, well, we really know that Monday. I said, perfect. Then Monday we're putting the list out. And so I put the list out, and I believe they were starting to put up a statue in my memorial on the base somewhere. Everybody was thrilled. Then the next day, about 30 to 40 kids enrolled. It totally adjusted the classes, and I had to make some phone calls to people and say, due to enrollment changes, we're going to have to pull your child away from their teacher. Now, they only had the teacher for 1 day and hadn't even met them yet, but suddenly that became the greatest teacher that had ever been invented, and how dare I pull their child away. Multiply that by the same calls I had to make on Wednesday and Thursday, and I found myself on Friday at 4 o'clock putting up the final list and peeling out of the parking lot with everybody on base upset with me because you told me what we were going to do. We made plans accordingly, and then you changed it on me so many different times. And so in subsequent years, what I did was on the Friday before school started at 4:30, I posted a list with my engine running, and I peeled out of the parking lot, and I kind of understood it. I have watched, and I'm not criticizing other superintendents up and down the state of California who have come out and said, this is our plan for school, this is what we're going to do. And then I've watched them change their plan constantly. And so what we have been waiting, and if you want to be upset with anyone, you need to be upset with me. I made the conscious decision to wait until I could tell you definitively what we were going to do. I did not want anyone to hear that we were going to come back in full school mode. And let me tell you where we were 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, we were coming back in a hybrid model, and your child was going to be coming 2 days a week. Everyone was going to be home on Monday. You were going to come in on either a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, a Tuesday, Thursday, or a Wednesday, Friday. We had grouped the kids together by family, so we weren't going to have you bring your first grader on Group A and then your 11th grader in on Group B. We figured all of that out, and we were ready to roll that out and announce it. And then the county fell on a particular list, and the governor came out and said, you may not have school. The decisions that are being made are beyond us. We do not have the authority to say that we are going to open school or not. It is a complex, to be honest, convoluted process to either know if you can or cannot come back. It is constantly changing, and I live on constant phone calls with the people that make these decisions in Sacramento. I work with Matt Constantine, who is the county health official for Kern County, and I can tell you the way that California treats this is county by county. You and I live in a different part of Kern County than everyone else. We live on the east side. So our demographics are far different than the west, but just know that the decisions that are brought to us by the governor are really mandated by the county as a totality. So my sincerest apologies for waiting this long, but we are starting in a remote platform, and I put a letter out as soon as we knew. So I just wanted to say that at the onset, and I'm ready for all of the questions that people have, and let's get some answers to you.
Okay, if you're wanting to ask any questions, we have a bunch already, but just in case you don't have the number, it's 707-412-8922. And if you happen to be watching on Facebook, go ahead and type your comments in below the screen, and the chief is ready and watching for those questions. Chief?
First question. What would the attendance requirements look like for DHS? Hoping my kid doesn't have to spend 7 hours in front of a screen.
Very good. The attendance requirements are something that we're figuring out today. It's changing daily. We do know this. We have the responsibility under what's called Senate Bill 98, SB 98, that we provide daily instruction with the teacher and allow students to have interaction with their peers. One thing that we're learning is exactly what attendance looks like. No, you're not going to have to sit on a computer for 7 hours. I can tell you that. What we intend to do is your children will attend, I'm going to talk about high school, they will attend their periods just like they would at school. So first period will begin at approximately 8 o'clock, and then 9 o'clock. You'll come on, you'll receive direct instruction from your teacher, and there will come a certain point where they will turn them loose so that they can work on independent work, and at that point they won't have to sit necessarily in front of the screen. So what we anticipate is, we know there are families whose kids can get through the work in a much faster format than others. You should be able to truncate your day a little bit, but as far as the daily bell schedule goes, they will be checking in every period as they had before.
Next question. Can you describe the parents' role in distance learning?
The parents' role in distant learning is going to be to work with us to ensure that the child gets what they need. We're not in your home. We are willing to provide for you what you need. I'm going to ask Trevor to speak to the technology pieces of this, of what you might need first, and then I'll follow up with some other comments.
So what the district is doing is for parents who either don't want to use their home devices or just simply need more devices, we have Chromebooks available. So right now the district has just as a good number of Chromebooks, and we've actually gone through and ordered 1,500 more Chromebooks. They're en route right now, and we'll be able to provide a Chromebook to every student in this district if needed very shortly. And we can give almost every student in the district a Chromebook if needed right now. The other thing we're doing is we're working with local telecoms. So for particular needy families, we will actually be able to provide internet. There's a number of rubrics that are required. One, for example, is eligibility for free and reduced lunches. Parents do not need to reach out to us. They do not need to apply. There's no process. We've already, like I said, we're already working that right now. And as people enroll or people apply, we'll constantly reevaluate that list and see who needs it. Again, it's a very limited program, so there are very specific rubrics. But for those families that really have that need, we're going to be there to provide it. Any parents or staff that have issues are happy to reach out. I can provide to the base, and we'll put out even my personal email. You can email me. Parents do all the time. For parents that have weird specific questions, all of our teachers are being trained on the different formats that we're using. Google Classroom. So for day-to-day questions, simple answers, you can get those from the teachers. And you just reach out to your student's teacher, and they will be there to help you guys. Like I said, the more complicated stuff, I'm happy to help with. I'm sure it will evolve as we go forward. We're looking at all sorts of different options and things supports. Right now, we're not allowed to hold instruction on campus. What we're being told is that includes parents. What we'd like to do is at the point that we get the go-ahead from Kern County, we'll look to offer even some parent trainings as well. So the parents at home have the option to come in and get some training on what does this look like? What is a Google Classroom? What are these things?
Excellent.
Also, we're looking at doing things such as creating some videos where you can watch some videos and see this is how you log into. We're going to use what's called Google Classroom, so your children will log into that. So going back to the original question of what's the role of a parent, what I need you to do is tell me what your child needs. I have, beyond teachers, I have an entire support staff that normally are doing all sorts of jobs throughout the district. Very bright individuals. A number of them even have teaching credentials. They just don't feel like teaching. So they're like a campus aide or instructional aide for us. If you tell us my child is having a very difficult time in this particular class, let your teacher know first. That's your first line of defense, and we will get extra support to you. Those in grades 6 through 12 will be able to get 15 hours a day and on Saturday and Sunday tutoring that's above and beyond even our teaching staff. And we will give you that information. The principals are going to be pushing that out to you. They're looking at me because they don't even know that yet. But we have acquired that and negotiated that out with a company, and you'll be able to call out to them. So parents, I need you to help me understand what it is that you feel your child needs, and I'll do everything I can to supply that to you.
Excellent. You answered several questions already between the two of you. Would you please give your email address since you offered that? They could email you directly.
Sure, I'll give it to you now, but we'll post it as well.
Okay, perfect.
So it is T Walker, that's WALKER, at muroc.k12.ca.us.
Awesome.
And Chief, as always, can I just do it now? My cell phone number
Yes, sir. Please.
is 760-250-3210, just like you're counting down. So 760-250-3210. Call me, text me. Some of you have some questions that are just unique to yourself. Feel free to do it. I take calls from about 8:30 a.m. to 3 a.m. That's my office hours.
And then Trevor, while we're on the subject of resourcing and Kevin as well,
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit more about the Chromebooks? How do parents pick those up? And then can you explain about the reduced Wi-Fi for families that might need that to be able to support their kids?
The Chromebooks will be distributed from the sites. For anyone that was here in spring, you saw sort of the truncated version. I think a lot fewer families took advantage of that. But you'll go through your principals, you'll go through the school sites. They're going to check them out to you, and it's just like a textbook or anything else. You'll sign a document just acknowledging that it's a district Chromebook. You don't get to take it away with you if you leave, and that you do need to take care of it. For the Wi-Fi, what will happen is the carrier we're working with will actually send you not a hotspot, because for those of us who are new to Edwards, cell service in this area tends to be a little spotty. So what you're actually going to get is a Spectrum modem that comes with an explanation how to connect it. You connect it to a cable line, and you actually have then a cable modem in your house that provides Wi-Fi on its own. The nice thing about it is If you need troubleshooting or that, it's actually supported by Spectrum. You don't have to worry about trying to get through to us for support. It's going to be through Spectrum. Obviously, if you have issues, again, you have my email address now. You're happy to reach out if there's problems. But most likely you'll see those arriving right around the start of school.
John, could you talk about first, and then Dave, would you each describe how parents are going to come and get their materials, so their textbooks. We will be giving out such things as anything that we normally give you, we will give you. Pencils, crayons, all of those things. You'll be able to come up, textbooks. You'll be able to pick those up at the school site in a one-shot kind of a deal. But I'd like the principals to explain the methodology of how that's going to occur. So if we could start with you, John.
Absolutely. Am I okay with it? Oh, there we go. All right, so on the first 2 days of school, the 17th and 18th, we're actually going to be using all three of our parking lots. So we're going to start with our kindergarten parking lot, and we're our Forbes parking lot. And TK in kindergarten will be set up together. They'll have tables. Your teachers' names will be listed on those tables. Teachers will have all of your supplies right there. You will come alphabetically. We'll have times set up. I'll be posting those as well as sending out calls and emails regarding those times. You'll come at those specific times on those 2 days and pick up your materials from your teacher. And then same thing for first grade will also be in that parking lot. Second and third will be inside of our gates under the nice shady area. The other parking lot, the dirt parking lot, it's a little too dusty to have you guys come and pick up from there. So you'll be coming and picking up inside of our campus. But again, it'll be in tables. We'll have everything spaced out. Your teachers will be set up with signs, and we'll get you all taken care of for there. For our 4th through 6th grade, we'll be utilizing our Forbes parking lot. They'll be spread out again with tables, same format. Teachers will be out there, and you'll be picking your books up by a teacher. Your teachers will be contacting you, letting you know who they are, where they will be at, their names by the 14th. So just be on the lookout for that, and I'll be sending out phone calls and emails. We'll post it on our website and Facebook as well.
And again, we would give you your teacher name earlier, but as way of an example, we have 2 different sides of our school district. We have the schools in Boron and we have the schools on base. 33 kids just enrolled in kindergarten at West Boron Elementary School. I can right now tell you the graduating class in 13 years. I know who they are. They don't leave. On average, one moves out and one moves in. But other than that, I can tell you who's going to graduate. But here, people enroll all the way up and through the first couple weeks of school. Otherwise, we would give you that teacher name today. But John, just again, one more time, parents are probably wanting to know, when am I going to find out where to go? Can you give them a date again one more time?
It is on the 17th and 18th.
But when will you let them know
Who their teacher is? So when I started, I actually had the ability to call Kevin. I called him on Monday, saying much like he said, why can't I pass out lists on that Monday? And he said, John, just wait till Tuesday. Call me back on Tuesday, and you'll see. Tuesday, same thing happened. A bunch of parents, enrolled, and my list completely changed. So as soon as I can, teachers will contact you by that Friday, Friday before school, letting you know who your student's teacher is.
Thank you.
Okay, so at Desert, we're continuing our tradition of Scorpion Days. So it's starting next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I have sent out by email the schedules because we're doing it by grade level and alphabet by last name over a 3-hour period. So 7th graders start off Monday morning, and then Wednesday afternoon we end off with the seniors. And what you're going to be doing is coming on campus. We have Life Touch. We'll get your school pictures and your school IDs. And in room 1, we'll have the textbooks and schedules if you haven't been able to see them yet over the weekend. Schedules will be available by tomorrow afternoon. I'll send an email out when they are up and running. And you can access that on Aries with your parent portal. Whoops, hobo slip. If you don't have access to that, we will have schedules that we can print out and hand it to you when you get there for Scorpion Days. It's real simple. It's just come in and get your pictures, your IDs. Your books will have social distancing. You won't even go into room 1 to get the books. We have helpers that will take your schedule, collect the books, check them out, and hand them through another door for you. And that's it. So unfortunately, we usually have barbecues and pep rallies and the band playing. We're not having any of that this year. So at least you're getting all the books. You'll have your schedules. And we're a little unique because we're able to do it a week early because even if when we get more enrollments next week, it doesn't change what classes your student has or the teachers. Very rarely does it change the period that you're in, but if it does, we'll let you know. But basically everything's set for the students that we have enrolled, and we're trying right now, we're still working getting enrollments in. So we'll get all that in time for next week. So that's how the materials. For certain materials, we have first day packets will be coming out. Our art teacher has been frantically working to get her portfolios and all her materials ready, so they'll be picked up next week as well. So everything you need will be done next week between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And just one last thing, what I sent out on email is also posted on our website, so if you haven't looked at it, it has the guidelines and procedures for everything as well as the schedule.
And I would imagine that a lot of this will be posted on the website with the ability to ask questions on those websites as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just making sure. Question I'm getting frequently is what will virtual IEP speech support look like in special education programs?
My turn. All right. So in regards to this whole summer, kind of going along with what Kevin says, the biggest thing in regards to special education, we were waiting for guidance. There's a lot of conflicting information here and there, and what we have decided, and finally the guidance has suggested that what we will be doing is having virtual IEPs through either Google Meets, and we have our program actually allows us now to do virtual signing and things like that. In regards to speech, we're going to be utilizing the virtual platform of Google Meets as well too. We're educationally based speech, so therefore that platform is appropriate. And that's kind of how we will go about delivering services, meeting goals, and progress monitoring as well. So in regards to, I know this might come up, in regards to assessments, because I know when we left in March, the biggest thing was a lot of our assessments was put on pause. What we have done, we actually went back to the drawing board, and we're actually devising a way where we can do assessments, whether it be speech, psychoeducational assessments, multidisciplinary, all on a virtual platform. So that's something to come.
Excellent. I have been asked if I ask a question, if you could put my question into your answer, just in case, because it seems my mic is going in and out online.
Oh,
so just
absolutely.
answer it that way if you don't mind.
And Chief, can I speak to that real briefly too on
Yes.
special education? So regarding special education and services for those students, there's a lot of pressure that we and others are putting on the governor's office today. We've been waiting for 2 days for a statement to be made by the governor related to a couple of issues. One of those has to do with child care, and the other is special education. Everyone recognizes that the most needy students are those who have special needs. And so what we would like to do is, as soon as we are able and have permission to have special education students back onto campus, we're going to bring them back on. Our special education teachers are clamoring to get in. The parents want them in. We want them in. And if I'm going to be totally honest, even the Scorpion Days that we're doing is technically outside the law. I mean, if somebody really wanted to come down and get on us on that, but we figure we still have to get books and materials out to students in some form or fashion. So I sat very quickly, Chief always gives me the little I sat in on a phone call last week, and I put it on speaker, and my family was sitting in the room. I have 3 school-age children, a freshman, 2 seniors, and then my wife who works for the district. And I said, I want you to listen to this so that you don't think I'm crazy. And as we listened to this hour-long meeting full of superintendents and people from the Department of Education and county health officials, questions on, will we be able to provide child care? The answer was, answers are coming. How about special education students or little bitty kids like kindergarten through 2nd grade who currently really are illiterate? How do we teach them how to hold a pencil virtually? How do we teach them how to read and write? We're going to get back to you on that. Every question we asked was an answer is coming on that. When the call ended, since I'm not the one saying this, my freshman daughter, my 14-year-old, just said out loud as she walked out of the room, well, that was stupid. And I'm going to just be blunt. I think a lot of us feel that way. We are waiting on these answers, and I really, really feel for families who have students that need extra assistance. Now, at the very least, we will have instructional aids that are going to tie into the virtual classrooms and be there. If your child has what's called a SCIA aid, a special circumstance instructional aid, someone that's just for your child, they also will be there. We have asked questions such as, can mom and dad drive up in the parking lot, open the sliding glass, or open the door to the minivan, have the teacher standing on the curb, and yell back and forth even? And we were told, absolutely not, that constitutes school and you can't do that right now. We'll get you further direction on what we're going to do for those students. So I honestly was hoping before we sat down today to have better news for that, but we anticipate any day. I will start putting out a daily update on our website of where we stand and of information. So go to our district webpage. There's a COVID-19 tab there already. And even if the answer is, dear families, no change today, we're still waiting on word, I will put that in there for you. At this point, you have more than owed that.
Okay, gentlemen, in one form or another, I've gotten this question several times over, and this is more for Colonel Gordon and MSG folks. What is going to happen with the parents that work? I can't have my kids at the CDC because I'm not mission essential, but my husband is. I can't telework either. I've got that question, and also for families who have someone who is mission essential and they work during the day as well, but we don't have the space at the school age program or the CDC. For those situations, what do the parents do? I know it's a tough one.
Yeah, tracking entirely on that. So to repeat the question, if I'm getting it correct, is I need to be able to work on base. I don't have the ability to telework from home. And for whatever reason, I'm not, my kids are not into the school age center or the CDC. Am I getting that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tracking entirely. So I'll defer a bit to Colonel Harris on this because we've been working this one very diligently. And as it works out, we have Mr. Coward with us as well to be able to provide some feedback on this. Here's my essay so far. Totally tracking that comment, and I totally understand it. My essay so far is that the school age center and the child development center are not at capacity yet and actually have a good bit of ways to go to actually get to capacity. And that Colonel Harris and his team are working very diligently with which to get more folks on board at those centers to be tutors, I guess the right term, as it goes through that. So here's what I would say, and this is what General Higer would tell to you as well. The intent is get with your unit commander or your director and have this discussion about what can we do to be able to provide value to my unit where I can work from home or I can't work from home, right? If you can't work from home, then the intent is that you get that mission essential letter and that you bring that forward to the school age center and the CDC. I would have to believe, you know, knowing our commanders on this base and how exceptional they really are, that they're going to do everything possible to find a way to arrange to make that happen. You know, they're just that caliber of folks. But that we do have capacity still, right? We're not at capacity and that there's a good bit left over. So the question has come up of, hey, even if I'm not mission essential, can I still bring my kids to the base? And my answer is, I think that might actually happen, right? Depending on how well we're doing with the mission essentials. We do have to take care of them first, but there potentially is some capacity left over from that. Colonel Harris, do you have anything else to add to that? Sorry.
No, you hit the nail on the head. If you can get the mission essential letter, we have room. Work with your commander, and if you can't get the mission essential letter, I'm sure there's a way to justify your need that we can fit you into the program. There is capacity, as Colonel Gordon said, so work with your commander and work with our team. We're more than willing to help.
And then Mr. Coward, do you have anything in the back? Was that good? Okay.
And that is one of the large ones that we're tracking at this point as well. So being able to provide child care for families.
Excellent. I'm going to take a little bit of a switch here, go straight to elementary school because I've seen this one come in a couple times. Can we hear details on how long elementary age kids will be online in Google Classroom? Specifically, how is attendance going to be taken? Is it going to be once a day? Do they need to log in the morning and in the afternoon too? Like, how are you going to track attendance when it's supposed to be an all-day attendance?
All right, so that's going to change, and it's going to be dependent on a teacher-to-teacher basis. Basically, we're talking very large age groups. We're talking TK all the way up to 6th grade. Obviously, the younger the kid is, the more difficult it is to have them in front of the computer, on a screen, on a live Google Meets. One of the largest complaints that I received at the end of the school year is from our working families, and that is that they're working. They can't. As soon as they walk away, their kid is up from the computer, and they're not there. So they can't have the kid attend the Google Meets sessions. I myself had that problem. I had that problem with my daughter for last year. She was in first grade, and it was difficult while I was working to have my daughter attend those live sessions. What I've asked all my teachers to do is, so they're all going to have their live sessions. Every live session that is a lesson, all lessons will be recorded, so that way even if somebody is not able to attend a live session, they can then watch that recording at a later time when they are able to help their students better. So it's really going to depend on the teachers, but we will have live sessions for everybody. There will be lessons as well as work that is more independent outside of the live session.
So I think same question. Okay, so at Desert, we are going to have pretty much like a bell schedule. So we're going to have periods 0 through 6. 0 period is simply the band. It's going to be a little bit later, so we'll start at 7:30 for 0 period. Each period is going to be 50 minutes with 10 minutes between. We have a 15-minute break between 2nd and 3rd, a 45-minute lunch between 4th and 5th, and then we end at 3 o'clock. What we're going to be expecting is for students to check in at the beginning of each period with the teacher. The teacher will then give instruction, either direct instruction or a video, or explain what's going to be happening for the rest of the 50 minutes. And then they'll be available for any questions if they go and do independent work. We do understand that, like the concerns I think might be coming in about working parents. We know our students are older, so they may be taking care of some of the younger siblings and helping them with their work. Communication is essential. Please, we are very flexible. Email the teachers, explain situations that may be coming up. They will work with you. CC me if you want to, or email me as well. Let me know if there's been any kind of an issues with the schedule that we have and you just can't meet it. We will work with you to make it work for all the kids. So
Part of my wife's job when it comes to attendance and how will we mitigate attendance in schools. My wife is in a training right now with Sacramento. They are clarifying for school districts exactly what we must do. We won't become the attendance police, but what we will do is, if we haven't seen your child online for a day or two, we'll also be reaching out like we always have. And one thing we want to check on is, are you having a technological issue? Because if it's a tech issue, we need to work on getting that fixed. If it's due to our family circumstances, we really are doing school more in the evening and we're watching the videos, again, we can get flexible with you on that. We will post on our website some of the greatest and latest information that we were just given that's now being mandated to us related to that. So the newest information is coming out as we're holding this meeting today.
That's great. A little bit of a change. I've seen this come in several forms. This question: what are you going to do for classes that aren't meant for distance learning, that are actually meant for being in classrooms, such as band, ROTC, and physical education? Like, what is the plan for those types of courses?
It's still going to be virtual. PE, pretty much a lot of it's going to be just an honesty that you probably do a PE log, that you're going to be doing some common activities. PE teachers may have you start the class and do calisthenics together at the beginning of class, and then you go off and do your own physical activity, what you can do at your home. As far as our junior ROTC program, they have the whole guidelines. They'll be explaining all that and what they're going to be doing. I don't know exactly how they're going to be doing the drills yet. We were talking about that this week, but they're going to be doing something. They're getting guidelines too from headquarters for ROTC. So, and band, I know she was doing band and practices virtually last year, at the end of the school year, so it'll be the same thing. They'll be working on it. It's hard you can't do a concert because you really can't synchronize, 30 or 40 instruments to sound the same at the same time. So
and along those lines, what is the plan for extracurricular activities and things of that nature to fulfill that need, and how people interact in that way?
Right now, our ASB is working on doing things virtually. We can't do anything together. We can't have any kind of activities, sports practices, extracurricular in person. So they're coming up with some creative things to do virtually, and that should be coming out as we get back together with the leadership class in our ASB.
Makes sense.
We also find some of our best ideas come from parents and students as well. We fully recognize that we're all doing this for the first time. and we're open to suggestions, ideas. People are hearing what their family members are doing in other areas. By all means, I was explaining yesterday that we can't necessarily get together and do robotics. That's pretty much an impossible one to do. I do want to speak briefly to sports. When it comes to sports, CIF controls sports in California. So the school districts don't have the authority to say, we're just gonna tread ahead and do our own sports program. And right now, the way it is set up, we cannot have any in-person practices with any students. I mean, if I can't bring them in and teach them algebra, I'm not being allowed to bring them in and put them on the offensive line for football. They do have a plan in place where they are proposing to have a truncated fall sports schedule that would start in December. We will wait and see what happens there. And all I can say to those that say, hey, I have a child who, was really looking forward to a sports scholarship, is this is hitting the collegiate level, it's hitting professional sports as well. I think this is a bigger concern or question than actually that we could answer. But as soon as we can safely put kids back together, whether it's in French club after school or a sports team, we are absolutely going to do that. Our primary focus at this point is how do we help your child achieve the academic goals that they need to meet so they can progress and move on to the next grade level or stage in their life.
So speaking of good ideas and innovation, what path or what is the best path for them to reach you, the children, the parents, to say, hey, I have this really great idea. Here's how we can innovate or how we can adapt to the situation. What's the best way for them to submit that?
You can either text that to my cell number. You can call and leave a message at the school site. You can get a hold of our principals. All of our email addresses are published on our website. So if you want to, I believe, it's pretty easy. If it's not, I'm going to make sure it is under the COVID tab now. And what you can do is you could email. If it's specific to your school, I would ask, go ahead and cut me out of it. If you have a great idea for the high school, go straight over to the high school. Feel free to CC me on it. I'd love to see what it is. But I'll make sure that the email addresses of our team are up and available for you. And that tends to be a pretty good route.
Excellent.
Yeah, and from Colonel Gordon, just to kind of foot stomp that one a little bit, because we talked a little bit about this on the town hall last time, but the tendency for all of us, again, I'm speaking as a father, the tendency for all of us is to go, I want my kid to have the same experience that I did when I went through high school, and to have all of these different extracurricular activities and all these different sports and all these in-person kinds of things. And it's really hard to let go of that. I totally understand that. I completely understand that. The point of telling you the story of the Boston School District is to say, even in a place that is nirvana, in everyone's eyes, right, and has all these resources and all these capabilities, that they don't have a clue any better than anyone else around here, and that we are all completely in this boat together trying to find a way to be able to achieve what we want to go be able to achieve. So given that we are where we are, this is the perfect spot with which not just to recreate the education that we had in the past and the experiences in the past, this is an opportunity to reinvent what education is. Mm-hmm. You can argue in a lot of different venues that our education system has been long overdue for a disruption. And perhaps, I wish it came via a different way other than COVID, but this is the opportunity with which to actually make something new that we couldn't have done before. So to the point earlier about, well, I'm not mission essential or whatever, I'm willing to bet your commander director is really going to have a very lenient ear to that, because we still have to get the mission done, and this is not the way it was last year. To the point about good ideas, bring it. Right? This is the time to bring it. I guarantee you everyone around this room wants to hear that, because we are all eagerly trying to figure out how to make this the right way. Because to be as frank and honest as we can, given the current situation, it can't be the type of experience that we went through, as parents. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a worse experience. In a lot of ways, it can be better. So we really want to hear those ideas. And I guarantee you, you've got a captive audience and people that actively care to implement that.
Okay, we were getting some questions that we may have answered in the middle of other questions, but they keep coming in recently. Sure. So when it comes to IEP and ISP, how is that going to be handled?
So I'll say something briefly, and then I'm going to turn over to Brent, if that's all right. First and foremost, we work daily with the governor and putting pressure and waiting any moment to hear from the governor. And when I say any moment, I'm hoping that this evening, before we all go to bed, he actually comes out with some direction for that for us. At this moment, he is not allowing us to bring special education students in. Brent has been working with the special task force. We've ran 10 of them over the summer. Summer didn't exist this year at all. All we've done is just work towards the different scenarios of what could school look like and started playing that game. We have about 15 different playbooks on the shelf. We just need to know which one we can pull off. So I'm going to let him speak to some more specifics on that. But I want to give a little bit of hope to parents who have IEPs that there is no other group of students that we are putting pressure and that the governor is getting pressure from on all fronts than students who have IEPs. So if anyone was ever able to be that first group to actually get to come into the classroom, it would be those students. And we are anticipating they can. And the moment they can, we will also look at, I want to go back to a little bit of mission essential or those that are able to telework. If you meet a two-prong criteria, we're even willing to help out in a very specific way. We haven't done transportation at Edwards Air Force Base since the 1990s, quite honestly, because everyone lives within a close enough area to come in. And if you live out of town and you bring your children in, that's your choice, and we don't bus out. It's cost prohibitive for us. But if you show us that you have been asked to work from home remotely by Edwards, regardless of where you live, and your child has an IEP, so you have an IEP and, hey, I'm being told I'm telecommuting, I'm working at home, and the governor gives us the green light to bring special education students back into school, we're going to come pick them up at your house. We're going to get a van, and we'll use social distancing measures. We'll do everything to keep everyone safe. But we'll do everything we can to actually come and get your child, bring them here for you as well. So I just want you to know how seriously we're taking this. Brent, if you could speak to what we're going to do in the interim for families while we wait for the governor to allow us to bring them in.
Absolutely. And if I'm understanding the question correctly, I think they're talking about what if my student is coming into an independent study program with an IEP?
Yes, sir. To my
Yes.
understanding, yes.
So
I'm interpreting.
in that regards, what we will have to do is when you do come to our schools and when we go ahead and meet for that independent study plan, we'll also have to hold an IEP. We'll have to review the most recent records and things like that and determine if we can provide those type of services in the homeschool setting. And to be honest with you, if things like speech, articulation, things like that, I don't see a reason why we could not. In regards to what special ed and what that will look like, what the governor is requiring is a distance learning plan. So every student as of right now that is currently on IEP, the first week of school, your special ed teacher and your case manager will be reaching out to you, discussing with you the distance learning plan that was in place in March and see if it's still appropriate, goal-oriented, and things like that, and go ahead and work with you in that regards. So that's things to expect in about the first 2 weeks of school.
Excellent. And sir?
So I think we've touched on something that we haven't discussed yet, but is good to have a conversation about. So we're touching on independent study. So right now we are operating two very distinct things. Now, in the normal world, there's standard instruction and there's independent study. Right now we're on distance learning, but independent study is also an option. So the biggest difference, there's many little nuanced differences, but the biggest difference is this. If you want to do independent study, we have that opportunity. When you register, you even have a checkbox now. You are the teacher. The parent is the teacher when we're on independent study. We provide materials. All the resources are there. In normal times, your child can even participate in sports. When we do have these extracurricular activities running, like ASB, chess club, all that, those are an option for your student independent study. But when it comes down to it, when independent study, you are the teacher. For distance learning, our teachers are still the teacher. They're the ones that are delivering the curriculum every day. If you're in high school, you're going to have all those normal teachers. That's not to say that in independent study you don't have support. One of the criteria for independent study is they actually have a teacher at the same ratios of any other program. So there's still that background support. But when it's, I have a question on this problem, if you're distance learning, that question goes to the teacher first. If you're independent study, mom, dad, grandma, whoever, they're the ones answering that question. So hopefully that, like I said, we started touching on the independent study versus distance learning, and hopefully that was a clarification for everyone.
And one thing with independent study is we are flexible in allowing students who say they say, well, I don't do JROTC at my house. How do I do that? They would be allowed to do that. They could integrate in and be part of some classes as well. But yeah, independent study is different than our traditional school year, or our traditional school, which is going to be distance learning. But that is always an option. I received a phone call from an individual who had a question. It sounded like they had reached out to a school site and they were getting some different answers than what I had talked about in our meeting. We have a principals meeting tomorrow morning. They're really happy with me on a Friday to do that. And I will clarify, and word will be coming out from your school sites to make sure that we're all speaking the same language. But independent study is an option for you. It's just that it runs a little bit different. At our last board meeting, we did adopt all curriculum that California offers. And we're hoping, and we did that because sometimes families, this initially was to capture homeschool families, and they reach high school level and they want to have a high school diploma. So this was in hopes that if you've been using a textbook that perhaps we haven't adopted, but it is recognized by California, you'll be able to keep using your textbook as well.
And while we're on that subject, oh, sorry, did you? Okay, well, while we're on that subject, can you flesh out a little bit more about how does a parent understand what's in the independent study curriculum, how's it offered, and can they blend the two? Can they blend independent study with distance learning? Have you seen models like that?
You're doing great. You just asked 3 of my questions. I appreciate that, sir.
So with independent study, they do have the option to push in. Now, for us at the elementary level, it's a little bit more difficult. Elementary obviously isn't broken out into a nice strict breakdown of this is your science class, this is your English. So for elementary, for the most part, you're either independent study in its entirety, or you're going to do a distance learning. It doesn't mean you don't have the options for clubs, field trips, whenever that becomes a thing again, those type of options. At the high school, you do have that option. So one of the things that comes up a lot are chemistry, biology, physics, calculus. Not everyone apparently likes math. And some parents are just, I don't know how to teach calculus. It's not something I do. Or I know calculus great, but organic stuff is weird to me. You have the option under independent study of having your student go to science or go to physics or what have you, but perhaps you're teaching English or history or what have you. What the process for independent study is going to be, with every student when they come in and enroll as independent study, we're going to, have you sign a contract, which is really just saying, you're coming in, we do have expectations, you need to be doing work. You know, independent study obviously is an option to come in and just not do work. We find many of our independent study families are very driven, so it's not an issue. As part of that, you then work with the teacher, your administrative teacher, who's going to be working with you to say, okay, here's the textbooks we offer. What are things you're looking to do? Does your student need additional support? For example, we have feedback of some parents want a lot of support. They want, daily check-ins. And some parents want a lot less contact. They really want just they want the student to have someone for help when they need it. But for the most part, they're like, I got this. I don't want that additional support. And so when you register your student, and then you're gonna work and meet, and you're gonna build that plan for your student that's specific to your student. Hopefully that answers the general question there.
I have another question that is maybe more rumor control when it comes to independent study. And it's directed more probably for the high school age kids. If they are participating in, let's say, soccer downtown, or taking dance class or violin lessons privately, the rumor I heard was that they could get a arts credit for high school.
There are some opportunities for that. I will be honest in saying I am not an expert to that level. I've learned a lot of the general rules. My understanding is that there are some classes and some extracurricular activities that do count. So, for example, soccer, I believe that is something that can count towards PE. If they're getting a music lesson from a certain level, that's really going to be a question that I think each specific case is going to be specific. And to give a general answer, I don't think would ever be prudent. We really need to look at what it is, make sure it's an appropriate program. But there absolutely is that possibility and opportunity.
The best clarification I could give you is this. We've had students who have gone to, say, Antelope Valley College, and they've taken a soccer or a tennis class. There's some accreditation that's attached to that, and there's a teacher. That is different than I'm playing club soccer. There's not necessarily an individual that we could say is credentialed in that field to be able to give credit, so that is attached to our accredited high school, if that makes sense. It is much easier to be attached to a college program. I know that Dr. Elms and I have worked with parents in the past who wanted to go take a sports class specifically that maybe we did not offer, and we were able to find elective credit towards that, and we've gotten creative. And as long as the law will allow us, I think that we can get pretty good with that. But if you come to me and just say, I signed up for club soccer, and however great the coach is, that doesn't necessarily meet the criteria for a class where you're asking to earn high school credit. It's much easier if it's tied to some sort of an institution, a college or a high school or something like that. I hope that helps.
So thankfully to the digital age, our expert has texted me to say art credit would not be an option because we offer art. So if they do want the art, that's where that opportunity to flex in and out of the classroom is. So they say, we want, maybe we want to do everything else, but art, I can't draw. I don't make stick figures. I understand that. I'd like my student to participate in the actual art class. Things like, for example, karate for PE credit, that is an option. Let me make sure there wasn't anything new. Specific instruments for music is an option, but we do offer band, so we have to, there's some more requirements that go with that.
And just real quick, the best people to talk to would be our academic advisors, Ms. Truehill and Mr. Conforti. Just come through the office, because if they don't have an answer, they come to me, and then I go to the district. So just come to the school. We'll work everything we can. They're really knowledgeable on what can or cannot be accepted. And always check before you do and sign up thinking you're going to get credit, and then find out afterwards we can't accept the credit and you've already signed up. So please check with us first.
Our independent study program for high school is ran through Edgenuity. I think a lot of people are pretty knowledgeable of that program. It's one of the major ones. They do offer AP courses and just a number of classes. And again, we pretty much offer anything that they offer. We allow independent study students to take as well. But again, you can blend in. And JROTC tends to be a big one that people would like to participate in. Also sports. And once you attach yourself to our school, you're allowed to start doing some of those things that you maybe couldn't if you're in your own private homeschool program.
Good to know. Good answers all around. We have actually several students asking questions on here, so I want to get to some of the students' questions too. It says, I'm a high school student in AP and honors classes. How will those work this year? And also, will there be clubs such as CSF and Bible Club and NHS function?
Yeah, we will still have NHS and CSF. Those are the scholarship federations and honor societies. So they will still be happening. Teachers will start going there once school starts. AP, you're still getting the AP classes that we have available. If not, the counselors can work with you, maybe doing a college online course. And we'll just wait till we get closer with the College Board as far as what the AP test will look like this coming spring.
And we will look to support student clubs and things of that nature.
100%.
One of our requirements, and we would do this regardless, but one of the requirements is the district does need to enable that student-to-student interaction. Obviously, right now it's digital, but we have all these resources. The students have their Chromebooks. They have those resources. So things like clubs and other activities where a lot of it's just interacting and meeting, discussing. Those are very easy to support.
A very good time to bring up also that, again, at the university and collegiate level, life has changed once again. I have a son who's a freshman at college at the university level right now, and I can tell you he's coming home early. He's doing some hybrid classes, and a lot of universities have suspended SAT or ACT test score requirements at this point because they are unable to provide those exams. You may see something like that when it comes to AP as well. It is just a different new world. And for at least a period of time, we're going to be playing under some different rules, and we haven't learned all of them yet. They're being established by people that are outside of this group of people. We just follow them, and we'll get you the information as fast as we can. I would say this: if you have two children and one is in an AP chemistry class and one's in a regular AP class, you should see the AP student doing more rigorous work than you would the other one, and that's going to be normal.
And then we have, will there be PSAT 11 this fall?
We'll have to wait till we get closer. We have to see what the College Board determines. And we'll have information when we know. Again, it's one of those things we just have to wait and see what they're going to do.
Getting a lot of those kinds of questions. I imagine this one will be the same way, but just in case you do have some vector on it, if schools reopen eventually, and when they reopen eventually, do you project there will be distance learning available for the high-risk students?
Absolutely. So, to Colonel Gordon's comment before, I mean, well, we see education fundamentally changing for an extended period of time. This is an absolute game changer. So we know that right now we have tabletopped, we are starting to crawl, and what we'd like to do is we want to walk. And when we walk, we're going to be bringing certain students in. It's special education students, perhaps it's those TK through second grade students, the ones that are most vulnerable, and it'll be in a hybrid model. Then eventually we will get to the point where we get to come back, I would like to say, at 5 days a week, and we're kind of back to where we were at one time. So, Chief, what was the original question, so I make sure that I absolutely answer it? What are we going to do?
PSAT will be available.
Oh, PSAT, we're not sure, we're waiting on.
Okay.
But you asked me another one after that.
I'm sorry, I was reading through other questions.
So,
I think the question he was asking for high risk was for students that are high risk health-wise.
we'll allow you to stay home.
High
Thank
risk
you.
health-wise.
Yeah,
Yes,
for those
thank you
for
very
those
much.
families that still, no matter where we're at, say for whatever reason we just don't feel comfortable, we'll allow you to have those options moving forward.
We expect, and I think most in education expect the reality is this is a paradigm shift. We'll use those SAT words. Instruction and school most likely has changed this point going forward. So we will always have those options. And I know for some families, there might be some families who says, you know what, from this point forward, there's nothing that can happen that will make us feel comfortable. That might be the time to look into our independent study program and to take advantage of that and the flexibility. But we will absolutely, the reality is this is not going to be a light switch. It's not going to be, we're in a completely distance and tomorrow everything's back to normal. I think anyone that believes that isn't really preparing for what reality is, and we're prepared for that. This is going to be a long transition. It's not going to be just an instantaneous change.
So
Trevor,
a phasing approach is fully expected in this situation.
So if I'm that family, I may also have the question then, Trevor, if that day comes, how are you going to make sure that my kid still gets to have an education? Can you talk a little bit about the technology that we've invested in for teachers to broadcast out?
What we've done, we have actually gone out, instead of purchasing a webcam or saying, you have a webcam on your laptop, we've actually purchased much nicer equipment, not quite as fancy as what you're looking at us with, but these are actually pretty high end. They're actually a 4K camera. They connect to the computers and they allow a lot more flexibility. Every teacher has a new laptop now that has a little bit higher processing power than, say, what was issued to a standard teacher a while ago. What this does is it allows all the teachers to have the ability to record, to capture, stream. They can have a whiteboard in the background and actually work on a whiteboard. There's some subjects, I know for me, math is not something I handle digitally very well. You need to write. And I'm sure many teachers, they need to write because I don't even know how you do some of the symbols for math on a computer even now, and I took those classes. The goal is the flexibility is there. We have established special tech leaders in our district for instruction. They're mastering this technology. They're going to work with the teachers. Like Mr. Sirks had brought up earlier about recording lessons. We don't really see recording instruction going away. One of the things that's come up is even, let's say 2 years from now, we're completely back in, COVID-19 starting to fade from the memory. There's a lot of benefits to still recording instruction. Students still get sick. Students still break a leg. Family emergencies happen. There's many reasons why missing school still occurs, and having that recorded lesson there is still very valuable. We foresee from this point forward having that technology component just becoming part of the norm.
This is an interesting one. High school will get ID photos by Life Touch. Will there be a picture day offered for the elementary school?
I don't have an answer for that right now. We're still working out the details on that. Working with Life Touch, and I hope to as soon as I have an answer, I will get that out to the public.
And another one I think may relate to you. Will there be paper packets that are handed out to lower grades, or is everything on Google Classroom?
It's going to be a mixture. Again, it's going to depend on the grade level. It's going to depend on the students. Reach out to the teachers. Teachers are tailoring things to student needs. So it's really going to change. It's going to be a student by student, teacher by teacher basis. All teachers will be using Google Classroom, but there may be a paper component in there as well.
And can you paraphrase those questions just in case they didn't hear Chief Thompson's?
We're asked if the kids would be receiving paper packets or if everything would be on Google Classroom.
Okay, and will Starbase exist, and can I remotely volunteer?
From my understanding, is Starbase is still happening. We have some tentative dates, but again, a lot of things are very fluid right now. We're still kind of waiting on what we can and what we're allowed to do. Once we know that, we'll get back to you. Again, I hate saying we'll get back to you, but
Yeah, I have met with Starbase recently. In fact, we looked over the actual area itself. And I know that they are chomping at the bit, and I'll speak on their behalf, but don't hold me to it. I know as I spoke to them, they are very excited to find, and they've gotten very creative and spoken with other school districts, and us included, to be able to find ways to get kids in appropriate groupings and settings and social distancing standards and health standards to still provide Starbase. So,
New guy question, what is Starbase?
what is Starbase?
What is Starbase?
Starbase is something that the school district does not operate. It is actually ran through the Department of Defense, and it is all science-based, and it's an opportunity for fifth grade students to come in and spend a week in a special program, and they learn about robotics. They learn, it's a STEM program, and at the end they even have some really cool projects that they have built and that they can showcase at the end, and they get a certificate for being there. And we have surrounding school districts in the Antelope Valley that actually come out. We're very fortunate in that we had a space that we could physically use. So you actually rent a little space from us. We have a lease with you.
And this is for the base, sir. Colonel Harris, how is accessibility going to be, given that we have limited base accessibility? Is it going to be free reign for those who have to come in, pick up packets, the teaching staff, the parents of those folks who aren't normally allowed to be on base at the moment because they're not ME?
Right. So if you don't normally have base access throughout the year, given this COVID environment, and I did specifically ask General Higer this question, he said this is a go-do. They have to come on base, so they're going to be allowed to come on base. Our Security Forces Squadron Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Ben Kurowski, is working with his team, and they will make sure that if you need to come on base to pick up packets, to go to Scorpion Days, whatever the case may be, that you will be allowed on base.
Excellent.
Yeah, and the district is working directly with Ben Kurowski right now to coordinate exactly how we do that to make sure access stays secure, but those families and parents that need to come on to base to get their materials will be able to do so.
Perfect. Here's a couple different forms of this question that has come in, but I think the answer will be all-encompassing. I have 2 high school and 1 branch student. We're about to PCS in a few weeks after school starts. Do you suggest enrolling, or is there no point? Carrying on with that question was another question similar to it, which is, if I start virtually here and they go back to school, do I have to transfer at that point, or can I keep doing virtually in the same environment?
All right, so if you have orders and you are leaving soon, knowing the way that orders works, and sometimes orders do change or that can be adjusted, my suggestion would be start your children out. It's still going to be a viable, a solid educational program, far different than anything we've ever had in the past, but I would still enroll them and keep them enrolled until they leave. The question related to, now I have moved to Wright Pat or I'm somewhere else and I want the consistency for my child, that becomes a little bit different in that you actually belong to another school district. And so those are called inter-district transfers. And technically, by law, I know within this, I can only answer you within California, and that is if you truly don't work here at all, but you want to go to school here, you have to ask for permission from your home school district in order to attend a different one. I don't know about interstate in that way. I do know, Chief, that we've had a family that has received orders to Edwards, and they know they're coming in a couple of months, and they've asked, we would like to go ahead and start, and our answer to them has been, if you have orders in hand, that means that you're employed here. We'll call that being employed here. Residency based on employment is what that is called, and we're letting them enroll and go ahead and start so that, you know, there's some continuity for their school year.
So given this situation where they're going to be leaving in about 2 weeks,
In 2
I would
weeks,
say reach forward to
in
the
2
next
weeks'
phase.
time, that's a personal choice. If it were my children, you know, that's something that you're going to have to decide on your own.
And
but
maybe reach forward, call the
Yeah.
gaining school district, and
you may want to give them a phone call and just ask about that.
excellent. And Mr. Sirks, will tutoring be offered to K through 5 grades?
Tutoring will be available. Again, reach out to the student if you need additional, or reach out to the teacher, sorry, and the teachers will be providing assistance as needed. If you're having any issues, please give me a call. We'll set something up. We'll work it out. We have aides that can assist one-on-one. We'll make sure that your student is taken care of.
To answer the question about TK through 5 and tutoring, we're constant. You know, we also have. All of our employees are in union groups, and we're currently in negotiations with what does that look like. One of the discussions that we have had is we have a number of classified employees. Again, those are non-teachers, but they are aides in the room. Some of them, like I've said, actually have teaching credentials. They just don't want to teach full time. They are really good at that. This is an ongoing discussion we're having with them about flexing their hours. We may, I can't promise this, but we may be able to provide maybe a hotline in the evening for somebody to be able to call and reach out to. I know that the contract we have for 6 through 12 did not have, that company had nothing for TK through 5, and that's why we didn't have that. So technically speaking, it's really during the hours that our teachers are working, but we're seeing what we can do to get you some others. And I got to tell you, our teachers are very dedicated people. I'm not going to tell you that at 3 o'clock they shut their doors and they won't talk to you. They're great people. I just have to tell you contractually, I can't enforce them or make them go and talk with you. But our people answer questions and help out all the time at all hours of the day. So I have confidence in us. We'll be able to help you out. If you ultimately bump into a major roadblock, you call that cell number 760-250-3210. I'll help you figure it out.
Excellent. Excellent. Do we have time for more?
Yeah.
Okay. For elementary, will we pick up Chromebooks when we pick up school supplies on the 17th and 18th? If we need Chromebooks, how do we identify that need?
No, you will not pick them up on the 17th and 18th. You can actually start picking those up now. We are issuing them through the front office. The reason for that is there's going to be a lot on those tables, and stacking Chromebooks more than 4 high, we're going to be breaking Chromebooks. So we don't want to do that. And we also want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of everybody. So if you need a Chromebook, give our office a call. You can come down. You can start picking them up right now, and we'll get them out to you.
And to answer
the second side of that was,
Yeah.
is there a needs-based, like how do you determine who gets one and who does not?
If you say that you need a Chromebook, we are getting you a Chromebook.
Excellent.
And so for the, make sure I didn't already ask this question. Okay, let me back up one. What if my kid has an IEP, but I don't want them to attend the school settings? And an extension to that was, what if we start in virtual and then we go back? Do they have to go back? Because routine's so important in those situations.
So if there's any type of change in regards to how we run school where, let's say we're starting in a virtual setting and we move to a hybrid or traditional, what we'll always be looking at doing in regards to that is always having an IEP, determining what is necessary in regards to what, what track they're on. And yes, if we are moving to a hybrid setting, bringing all special education students, we'll always have a track where it can be complete distance learning, and we will still provide services in that manner as well.
Excellent. And we alluded to this earlier, Colonel Harris, and for Mr. Coward in the back. Will school-age kids have the opportunity, ability to do schoolwork at the annex if parents are mission essential? And that speaks to what we hit on a little bit earlier, but we really didn't talk about very much on what we're trying to pursue.
Right. So at the school age program, what we're looking to do, so to first answer the question, yes, they'll be able to do homework. We're working on a couple things. One is getting the internet capacity into the building. That many kids into one room trying to log in and do school, that's going to be a little bit tough. So we're looking to get commercial internet into the building so that they can log in and we won't have any problems. The second thing we're looking to do is hire a couple overhires that will assist students. They're not going to be your subject matter experts that are going to help Susie or Johnny on their calculus problems, but they can help keep them focused and on track so that you don't have to worry that they're just sitting at the school age program goofing off. So as soon as we get those positions out, in fact, if you're a military spouse on base looking to help with that, keep an eye out for that advertisement. We're also going to send it over to the school for some of the folks there. But that's what we're going to do. When that comes out, we will put that out through through all channels that we have available.
Cool. And then back one subject, just because it just came back in and it's still semi-related. What about Chromebooks for high school? Will those be given out during Scorpion Days or on a separate day?
Those will be starting to go out on Scorpion Days. So as you get your picture taken, your textbooks, the adults can go into the main office and fill out the form, sign the agreement, and we'll have the Chromebooks and chargers ready for you. And if you don't make it on Scorpion Days, you can still come in another day whenever the office is open.
Okay.
Throughout the year.
And two categories I think a lot of people may fit in. When can we expect to hear from school about independent study to sign the contract and work on the curriculum?
That's right now. So we'll get a hold of the counselors, and they'll reach out to them, and we'll work on what works best for the student. What kind of program it's going to be.
Excellent.
So they'll reach out to them over the next week or so.
And one thing I would like to ask is, for all the parents who are thinking about it or are interested, please, if you haven't registered, register. Or if you're registered for standard and you think you're going to move to independent study, please let your principals know. So one of the things is we do have to staff it. And it's, our story about the elementary. It's really nice when we know before tomorrow what we need. We'd like to know today so we can start preparing for that. It's very hard to staff for next week if we don't know until next week what we need. So if you're on that fence or you've made a decision, you just haven't gone and filled it out, please go ahead and register. We have the online registration. That way we can start. And then we will, once we get close, we'll start reaching out to parents that have registered and start building those plans. But a lot of it really does come down to how many students, what's the grades, so we know exactly how we're staffing it and who we're staffing it with.
And a question I've got a couple times that I don't know that we have an expert in the room for to answer in this forum beyond experience is, what about ASVAB testing for juniors coming this spring?
ASVAB tests?
Yes, sir. How are you going to run ASVAB testing? Are there any plans or any thought plan for that? Personally, I'd imagine MEPCOM is going to have to dictate that for us. But
yeah, the person in charge at Desert with ASVAB is Ms. Truhill, and we'll just have to wait to see what it's like in the spring and any guidelines that we have. If we're allowed to do it virtually or.
And guidelines coming from the MEPS command versus the school district.
Yeah,
something you guys
we just offer the facility to do that, so it really comes from wherever it comes from. I don't even know where it comes from. I just know we do it every year.
Military
So
entrance processing command is where it comes from. And
okay.
they'll dictate that for you.
Yeah, I just know every year we definitely do that, and whatever guidelines they have, we'll work
We
with
were
them
going
on.
to drive all the students down to MEPS, drop them off, and make every recruiter very happy. That was our original plan, but I guess we could change that.
And my last, unless I've missed a question, if I missed anyone's question, please text it back in because we've had so many questions, it's been hard to keep up. So if you didn't get your question answered and you've texted me once, feel free to text it again. But the last known question I have on the docket is, do your enrollment numbers look significantly lower this year already because of families choosing independent study or homeschool? Do you expect smaller class sizes, specifically in elementary or branch?
No, our enrollment, our class sizes will remain the same. They're per our contract. We already have pretty small class sizes, but our enrollment is doing well at branch. We're actually receiving enrollments every day. We have quite a few. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, if I could speak to that real quick, Chief, something that really would help us out, and this happens every year. I can understand why some people do it, but I can express for the first time publicly how difficult it is for us. Every year we have a number of families that they kind of double dip. They go ahead and they enroll with us, and they're not sure if they want to come to us, so they enroll in a neighboring school, Rosamond or in Lancaster or somewhere else. And we get into the 6th, 7th, 8th day of school, and we haven't seen you, and we've been calling, and nobody answers. And then finally the phone gets picked up, and sheepishly someone says, yeah, I wasn't really sure where I was going to enroll my kids, so I just kind of put them in everywhere. To those of you that are doing that, please don't help me out, because then that makes me have to call all sorts of other families or adjust my teaching ratio, and somebody really gets upset when I have to rebalance classes back out. So if you're coming, come. If you don't think you are, we respectfully understand that. We're trying to find ways to meet the needs of anybody, but we also, at the end of the day, each one of us are dads. It's like we're all fathers. We get this. You do what's best for your family. I've always said that, and we'll support you.
I am extremely surprised this question just came in because I've been wondering this myself since we started talking about this months ago. Has anyone heard about the ability to hold kids back next year if they struggle this year? Example, repeat kindergarten. I wouldn't say kindergarten only. I would say as you go up through the grades, there's going to be more and more accountability. Has there been any talk at the district level about throughout high school? Is there any chance throughout junior high? Is there any chance that if they don't perform, don't attend, and they don't get the grades, them having consequences to that scenario?
And then from Colonel Gordon, just to piggyback on that one as well, another critique that I've heard and I've experienced is, well, school, just given all the crisis and the disruption that has happened, was essentially pass-fail, right? And a lot of classes were just, hey, you attend, you get a checkbox, good on you kind of thing. What's the standard? Are we still giving guys grades, students grades? And now that kind of piggybacks to the Chief's question, or the Chief's question that he's relaying, is standards, right? Like, how do we know that we're going to hold still to a standard so that when a student gets an A, it really is a bona fide A?
Yeah. What we did last year was we did not do what other districts did. A lot of districts did the whole, I'm just going to give you a passing grade no matter what. They did a pass-fail. We never did a pass-fail. What I did ask of our teachers was, you be very, very gracious and flexible. I need you to understand that nobody was preparing for this. Moving forward, we will hold the kids accountable for the grades that they should be earning. High school is much easier, I have to be honest. When you're older, you earn a grade, you earn a credit, you move forward or you don't. Elementary school is much more subjective, and at the lower you go in the grades, the more difficult that becomes. That is something that's really on our mind. Brent and I have been talking about this a lot, because I would anticipate that in a couple of years we're going to see a spike in parents that are requesting special education, and we're going to have a discussion about, was it that, or was it that the instruction that you received, whether it was here or somewhere else, just wasn't what it traditionally was? So what we would say is we intend to hold the exact same high standard. I'll go back to one of the very first questions asked, which was, what do you need from us parents? I need you to tell me my kid's not getting this. That's what I need. Like never before, I am not in that spot to see it. And so if you tell me, I can throw more and more resources at it. I would rather do that and be proactive than reactive at the end.
So we have a lot of questions. When I said I was out of questions, please read, they did. So we have a lot of questions that evidently I didn't get to.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll get these questions to the sources and have them
Rapid fire.
provide answers back, either on their websites or on ours.
Okay.
But I'll ask this one because it's kind of a combination. I'm getting a 2 for 1 since I told us only to have one more. I'll combine it. How will high school students change their classes if they need to? And how do we report if we have issues with the teaching member staff?
Okay, so they're going to reach, I'll answer it really fast. They're going to reach out to the guidance counselor like always in the past. They're going to ask for a class change. If you have a problem with your teacher, you're going to talk to the principal first. That's their immediate supervisor. You're going to let them know that they're not filling your need.
Excellent. Colonel Harris, over to you.
Yep, so, okay, first of all, that's all the time we have today for this town hall, but what I really want to do is thank you for coming, thank the panel, thank you all gentlemen for showing up today. It's really appreciated. It's a little bit later than we wanted, but and you explained why that is, so we really do appreciate you coming out. One thing, as Colonel Gordon had mentioned as well, I too am a father. So I come to you speaking as a father as well. My two will be going to Desert Junior High, or Senior High. Yeah. Sorry, new guy. So trying to get used to that combination. So we look forward to the school year and how this is going to pan out. One thing I want to leave with is that we are all a team. We are here to support each other. As you see, Colonel Gordon's here on behalf of General Higer. This is General Higer's #1 priority, and we will work this to, better our kids. We really just want to take care of the kids and make sure that they're getting a good education. And with that, I'll turn it over to Colonel Gordon for any final comments, sir.
So I echo everything that Colonel Harris just spoke. What I can say, just coming from background in innovation and working in places like AFWorks and a whole bunch of other kind of weird, wacky places, is that this anxiety, this fear of this is different and this is weird, that's a normal feeling. And what I've learned in that world is everything about me in the Air Force beforehand had taught me that I need to know how this is going to go exactly, right? I need to know what step Z looks like before I'll even start at step A and go to step B. And what I found is that when you have a black swan event like what we've just experienced, that line of thinking doesn't help you. And that it's far better to look and go, what's the team, right? Who are the people that are on the bus with you that are going to help you see through it? Because as things emerge, we're going to change, we're going to adapt, we're going to get better about it. But that's the right attitude to have. And when I was given the story about our decision to come back to Edwards, again, that was driven by the team that was here because of the confidence that we have in them. And so I think you've seen today the fact that they're willing to be candid and open and very direct and honest and to tell you everything that they know. That communicates trust and confidence. And that's exactly why Colonel Harris is here, I'm here, is because we believe that as well, and we believe in it sufficient enough that we put our own families there as well. So I really wanted to thank everyone again for being here. And again, just so that we leave this on this last note, to be able to get a hold of you, when will they hear from you again? And how do they get a hold of you, just to make sure that that's fully out there?
So by tomorrow at noon, you'll see all of our email addresses on our website under the COVID tab. I'll have my secretary just post those tomorrow morning. And I anticipate that we're going to roll out to a hybrid. So I would just like to say the district is open to this format at any time that you feel it is necessary. It doesn't matter if it's when we roll out to more of a hybrid, or if it's just in a month's time we need to give an update and give the community an opportunity to tell us a month in or 2 weeks in. I don't care when it is, just to say, okay, we've been doing this a while. Let me tell you how it's really going. Because I'll tell you the truth, when I ask you to your face, most people are telling me, I love it. But if I read Facebook, everybody hates it. But that's just kind of how life is. So I don't mind having an opportunity like this where there's a little anonymity and we're hearing from a large swath of people telling us how it's going so that we make sure that we're tracking and doing the things that we need to do for families. You tell us what you would like, we're happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.